A lot of people try to figure out why they smoke now, and they try to answer that question by trying to figure out why they started. Having the idea that if they can figure out why they started, it'll kind of answer why they continue to smoke and why they smoke to this day. It's important to note that the reason that people take up smoking and the reason they continue smoking are usually totally different reasons. I mean, come on, people take up smoking for one of three reasons. And for the most part, I mean, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, people take it up for one of three reasons. And they do it when they're young. And again, there's some people who take it up when they're in their 30s and 40s, but not that many. Most people take it up when they're young. And they do it with either the idea that it's, or not even the idea, they do it because of peer pressure. They're being, encouraged to smoke by their peers or maybe by people just a little bit older just to, fit in with them. Some people take it up to look more mature, that they feel that they will look older and seem older to people if they take up this adult behavior. And the third reason that some people take it up is out of rebelliousness. There's people who are telling them not to smoke and they don't want to hear this. You tell a kid that they can't do something, it often, and especially when you can't do it, but these adults can, this makes it an adult behavior that makes them want to do it. So, again, people take it up for one of three reasons in general, and that is either to, fit in with their peers, the peer pressure, to peer older, or out of rebelliousness. Okay, that's why most people have taken up smoking. But if you try to now look at why they continue to smoke, and you analyze those three situations, they don't fit. Because again, peer pressure, the number one reason that I mentioned. Well, if you look at peer pressure in most places now, it's against smoking. When you're dealing with people who are, in their 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, they're often the only smokers that they know. They're often closet smokers because they don't want anyone to know they're smoking. To say that these people are smoking because of some form of peer pressure is ridiculous. They're hiding their smoking because of peer pressure. In many cases, they're wanting to quit because of that peer pressure, and yet they're still smoking. The second reason, to look older, to look more mature, come on, how many people do you know who are in their 50s or 60s or 70s who smoke now so they can look older? Most people who are, as they get older, are trying to do everything they can to look younger. They're not trying to, take up some sort of device to help age them. Unfortunately, this particular mechanism of using smoking is actually successful, though. It does age them. It ages their skin, it increases wrinkling, and again, many people will realize they're prematurely aging by their smoking. It's not what they wanted to do at this point in time, but it is what's going on. The third reason, again, that I mentioned was rebelliousness. I kind of like this one, and the way I've always explained this is I doubt that you're going to find many people who are in their 50s or 60s or 70s now who are continuing to smoke because they're snubbing their nose at their 70 or 80 or 90-year-old parents saying, you see, you still can't stop me. Yeah, it may have been the reason that they started. It may have been. But the reason they continued was very different. The reason that whatever the mechanism was that started it, whether it was one of those three scenarios that I pointed out or something totally different, the reason that it started was one reason. The reason it continued was because they became addicted. They are now drug addicts, and now they are feeding their addiction. And the reason that people are smoking today is because they took it up again years or decades earlier for one reason or another, but now they're stuck. So answering the initial question of why they started is of no real importance. What's interesting about this, though, is it doesn't only translate to why people start smoking, but also when people quit smoking. The reason a person stays off over the long term may very well not be the reason that they quit to start with. And that's kind of important to note because sometimes people quit smoking for not the best reasons. Now, any reason that a person quits smoking sounds good, but sometimes some reasons aren't going to last. Sometimes you're going to quit to make another person happy. What happens if the other person leaves? What happens if the other person passes away? What if this person no longer becomes a significant, individual in your life? If your reason for not smoking was to make them happy or to, accommodate them, but they're not around anymore, well, gosh, you can smoke again. Quitting for another person, in a sense, is not a great reason to quit, but it might start to quit. And then after the quit is started, benefits can start to occur when people quit smoking. And if individuals will take note of what those benefits are, they may start to realize, like, oh, this is another good reason not to smoke. One of the videos I talk about is making a list of why you wanted to quit. It's important to do that early on. It's very helpful to go down that list whenever you get thoughts for cigarettes. What I had in the video where I talk about making that list, one thing I explain is that list doesn't end, it's not a finite list the day you make it. As you get longer and longer time under your belt and you start noticing benefits, you can add to that list. And that's one of those things that, I think, going over that video will explain that in detail. But to try to reinforce your reason for not smoking over the long term, not just have it down to one thing. Again, I'll have people say, they quit because they're afraid of cancer. They don't want to get cancer. But then they get some form of cancer. And again, it may be a minor form. It may be a skin cancer, which is going to be easily treated. And other cancers, some of them are, again, relatively very detectable, very curable, and treatable. Some of them have nothing to do with smoking. But if a person gets it and they start to think that the only reason that they quit was because of fear of cancer, now they got cancer, they can use something like that as an excuse. But again, the fear may have started the quit process when it did. But other benefits should come into play. Again, people become calmer. People have more energy. They don't have such social issues going around with their smoking. They have a lot more money saved. They don't have professional problems of being the only smoker left where they work and the issues that can raise. Or maybe not even getting a job because you're a smoker and a place isn't hiring a smoker anymore. There's benefits that just pile on to people as they get more and more time under their belt. The health benefits, the social benefits, the economic benefits. And you want to have all those reasons secured. You want to have all those reasons reinforced in your mind for when thoughts do occur. So the reason that you started your quit, it was a good reason in the sense that it got you to start your quit. But it doesn't have to be the reason or the only reason that you are sustaining that quit. Again, it's going back to the reason you started and the reason you continued were very different. Well, the reason you started your quit and the reason you sustained your quit also over time may become different or enhanced. And to keep those benefits, to keep on track of never having to deal with quitting again and with smoking again, it's still just as simple as making and sticking to a personal commitment to never take another puff.